boardroom. And thank you for everyone who is joining us online tonight. So we appreciate you being here and taking the time out of your evening to learn a little bit more about our bond election that is out here. For those of you who I don't know, my name is Steve Beebe. I am the superintendent here in the Buckeye Union High School District, and I'll be presenting along with...
Hi, I'm Jeff Simmons, Associate Superintendent of Operations.
Okay, and since we are in a public meeting, I would like to just publicly recognize that we have two of our governing board members here with us in the audience tonight. So they're joining us here, and so Mr. Dave Souza and Mr. Brandon Shelton are here to be here tonight. So again, the whole purpose of tonight's presentation is just to try to enlighten our entire community on our bond election and what it means for our district. So just a couple of things to start with. Number one, we just wanted to talk a little bit about the difference between a bond and an override, because you will see both types of elections. Both types of elections are happening right now with various districts. So an override is the ability for a district to go out to their community and to ask for additional dollars to go into their budget for their maintenance and operations budget. And when you go out for an override, most districts it's 10% more. Some districts go all as much as 15%. But that money can be used for salaries. It can be used for classroom supplies. It can be used for those operational things in a district. However, a bond is not the same. So our bond election, nothing in the bond election, none of the money coming from the bond can be used for salaries or M&O or any of those types of things. It is for buildings, it's for buses, it's for technology and safety cameras. It's for things that we can purchase for our district or buildings that we can build for our district. So I want to make that sure that everybody understands that. The second thing with the bond is, what is our purpose? Well, number one, if you live in the Buckeye or Goodyear area, there's no surprise to you that we're one of the fastest growing areas in Arizona and even in the U.S. And because of that, our schools are starting to are really pushing capacity for our classrooms and for the number of students that we have in all three of our comprehensive schools. So one of the purposes of this bond is for us to have the ability to build a fourth high school in our district to meet the growing needs of our district. The other thing, another priority is renovating aging classrooms for modern learning. Even our newest school is pushing 20 years old now. And so there's a lot of things that are broken and need to be revisited, and so we're looking at that. We're looking to upgrade campus safety. Campus safety is a big deal. Safety is a high priority for our district, and so we're looking to do that to protect our students and staff. We're also looking to replace outdated technology with current tools. We are a one-to-one district. We're a one-to-one district even before COVID. That initiative was made, and this district had made that transition prior to that, but buying devices every year for students is not cheap, and we're always trying to keep up with technology. Technology, unfortunately, gets outdated almost as fast as it comes out. And then purchasing school buses, safety and reliable transportation. As our district grows, we will need more bus drivers, we will need more buses, we'll drive more miles, and so those types of things. So those are some of the priorities and the purpose of our bond. So our bond election the election day is on November 4th. However, all of us know that that is a mail-in date. So by November 4th, it will be too late to have voted. So you will have voted ahead of time. But again, right now this year, we're asking for $163 million. That is for bond projects, land for a new school. We have a significant land donation that we'll talk about here in a little bit in Goodyear at Estrella Foothills. And then tax rate stability and factual materials. So we're going to get into some of that right now. So just some brief history on our district for those of you who don't know, and especially people who've moved to Arizona from other states. We are kind of unique in our school system. So prior, public school boundaries were established in the early 1900s, and prior to city municipal boundaries, and Buckeye Union was established in 1921. Our district includes Buckeye, Goodyear, and Maricopa County Islands. So if you look at the land mass, and we'll talk about that in a minute. We are different in Arizona than a lot of states because we have different types of school districts. There are elementary districts that are K-8. There are unified districts that are K-12. And then there are union high school districts that are 9-12. And so those three makeups, and that's just on the public school side of things. That doesn't take into consideration the private and public charters that exist and other things like that. So but in the public school system, we are a union high school district, which means we only have 9th through 12th graders in our district. Just some brief history on our school. Again, Buckeye Union was established in 1921, but the campus that we know today was rebuilt in 2004. Estrella Foothills was established in 2001, and then Yonker High School was established in 2007. So those are some of that. Our Buckeye Learning Center was established in 2011. So that's the age of our schools. Just a little bit of history or a little bit of knowledge about our school district. We're very proud of the fact that Buckeye Union High School district is an A school district. And Buckeye Union as a school itself became an A school last year. Estrella Foothills and Yonker High School were A schools in 23 and 24. And our Buckeye High Learning Center, we do not have enough kids who qualify to take the ACT test at that school, so they don't count in our letter grades. We are awaiting letter grades for 2025 this upcoming November, and we will be excited to share those with the community when they come out. That being said, our district has been an A-rated school district for the past 3 years. So some more history on our district. We service over 5,500 students, 9th through 12th grade. We have 4 feeder districts in our district. The largest is Buckeye Elementary. The second largest is the Liberty Elementary School District. And then we have Palo Verde Elementary and Arlington Elementary that are both K-8 districts, standalone single schools, much smaller schools, but the majority of those students from those schools come our way. So a lot of people ask, why isn't Buckeye Union High School District unified with any of our elementary districts? That goes back to a vote in early 2008, and this happened statewide. There was legislation and votes put out to communities all over the state looking for that initiative, and it failed pretty drastically as a no vote in that thing, and really hasn't been revisited since. There's a lot of conversation, but no legislation has come up to reunify in current years. And the reason besides that, most of it is because you want to have local control for your communities and your districts. So just a little more about our attendance boundaries here in Buckeye Union. And this is a fun fact that a lot of people don't realize. If you look at our boundaries in Goodyear and Avondale Boulevard, when you look out there, and then you go all the way out to Avenue 599, we are 50 miles east to west. It is one of the largest land masses of a district in the state. I think there's only one other district that's larger than us right now. And then if you look north to south, if you look out by Harquahala, we go up to Northern Avenue, and in the south we go even down into Rainbow Valley. So really it's 33 miles north to south. So it is a 12,000 square miles in our district. And so our buses run a lot of routes. Now, we all know a lot of that is undeveloped and it's farmland, but it's going to be a large district. The other fun thing is you look at our boundaries for our district. Obviously, Buckeye Union High School has the largest, which makes sense by where it's located. And then Estrella Foothills, you can see those boundaries from Dean Road to Avondale and north to south there. But our largest school, Yonker High School, with over 2,100 students in it, has the smallest boundary of a school, and that's just because since it's been there in 2007, it is every day being engulfed even more with houses that are coming in and around it. So just a brief history on our bond election to share that with you. In 2014 is the last bond election that the district had gone out for and passed, and it was for $49 million. That was for laptops for our students, and classroom additions at schools, additional renovations, including cafeteria expansions at Buckeye Union and Yonker, roofing, painting, and fire alarm system at Yonker, and then of course buses for our district. So that was the last successful bond campaign we had, and those are the things that were used with the money from that bond. So why a bond election in November? Again, as I started to say at the beginning, our student enrollment projections, our campus spaces and challenges, and our functional capacity. Every month at our board meetings, we give our board an update on our enrollment. And what we've started this year is not only do we give them an update, but we show the functional capacity at every single school so our board can see just how close we're getting to maxing out our schools with students. And I can tell you it's getting closer and closer every day. Continuation of student laptop program. Again, we started with the laptops and one-to-one. Every district in the state now is one-to-one after COVID. It's not something we want to move away from, but they are expensive, and we are out of money to purchase laptops. So we need the bond money to be able to secure laptops and devices for our students for the next 10 years. We also look at health and safety concerns. This year, we've been upgrading our camera systems at all of our campuses, and that's been largely due to a grant that we were able to apply for and receive. But with that, we're upgrading cameras. We're trying to do what we can to increase the ability to see our campuses and to increase that safety for us. Fire alarms and intercoms are in need of upgrading. One of the things about construction in a school district is when you build a school, and you don't build a school completely out in its initial phase, which most districts don't because you don't have the student population to do it, so you kind of build out a school in phases until it's complete. And all of our schools have been done in phases. With that, then you start piecing things together, which causes issues with fire alarm systems and intercom systems and stuff because you're constantly trying to keep connecting the chain instead of having it all connected at one time when you first built. And then in our district, if you imagine our district with our 3 comprehensive high schools, the district office and the learning center, we have 363 units in our district, the district-wide, that are 20 years old or older. If you are a homeowner, trust me, you don't want a 20-year-old unit running your house right now because the chances of it failing are great. And so we have 363 of them that are nearing their life expectancy. And then, of course, buses. As the district grows, we're going to need more buses. We're going to need to transport more kids. So the state's role in funding district capital needs. Really, life and safety systems is where they'll step in. So AC units, fire alarms, intercoms. The state will only fund it if it failed. So we talked about our AC units are failing in our district or our age district. So in our district with the school facilities board, if a classroom air conditioning unit goes out, when it completely fails and will not work, then and only then will they step in and help us to replace that unit. So what that means for the school that's already overly crowded is we got to find a place to put all of those kids, that teacher, and everyone else for 3 months while we wait for them to get funding, come in, bring an air conditioning unit, make it work, and then we can move them back. But they will not come in and replace anything that has not completely failed. And so that's one of the complications that we deal with, or if it's completely unrepairable. If it's at the point where it cannot be repaired in any way, shape, or form, it's outdated, you can't get parts, then they'll step in. So we have building renewal grants, and we apply, and we can get conceptually approved, but once we go out and get conceptually approved, we wait on the state's funding. And once the school facilities board is funded by the governor's office and they get their money, then and only then, if they have enough money, do school districts then get our money. So oftentimes, as the case this year, there's over $100,000 or $100 million in projects that have been put forward by school districts with only, like over $300 million in projects with $200 million in funding. So already there are people who are not going to get taken care of, and the school facilities board will have to prioritize those projects and figure out who is and who isn't going to get money. So we, those are things. As of July 1st, 2025, that's what I was just telling you. There's $338 million in grant projects and only $200 million allocated. So again, it's kind of a broken system. But again, we as school districts get very frustrated with the school facilities board. but at the same time, we also realize they can only do what they can do with what they are funded. So just a little bit more on our aging air conditioning units. At Buckeye, we have 180 units that are in the range of 26, or 180 units that are in that following ranges. So 26 are 10 years old or less, 44 are between 11 and 19, and 110 are 20 years or older. If you look at Estrella Foothills, 149 units, there's 7 at 10 years old or less, 28 were right there in the 11 and 19, and 114 that are 20 years or older. And then at Yonker, our newest school, there's 163 units and a chiller plant. And a chiller plant, it's a different type of cooling system that will cool multiple places. But again, we're 23 that are 10 years old or less, 139 between 11 and 19 years old, and the chiller is already over 15 years old itself. So again, it's just one of those things that is a big concern for our district because we want to take care of our kids. And as you know, if you live here in the valley, we get fortunate if we get a few months that we can turn the air conditioning off, for a little while. So with that said, I'm going to turn things over to Mr. Simmons to talk to you a little bit more about our district.
Yeah, and just a quick follow-up on, we have a $12.5 million project that we've been approved from the School Facilities Board conceptually for a roofing project at Yonker High School that's been approved for 2 years, and we're still waiting for the funding to do that. And so that is not on our bond list because the state said they were going to come in and do that one. So we'll see if we can get funding this year, but our fingers are crossed for that. So land and new school construction, the land needs on the State School Facilities Board application says if you need that land within 10 years, you can apply for it, but the reality and practice of what they fund is within 2 years of starting the new construction. So we do have the land for the next school on the bond as a backup plan in case the state, and they've turned us down already once for land so that we can make sure we secure land. Part of the issue too for us is that the farmland is disappearing quickly into residential developments that have already been purchased and gobbled up. And so we're trying to get land that has services, water, sewer, those types of things so that we can move forward with the new school here in the next couple of years. And then new school construction, you have to exceed the student space formula that they have, the state has, and then once you exceed that formula, then they'll award you the school. So you're already way overcrowded before you get it, and they'll fund about 70% of the construction costs. So we have $50 million in this bond for the next school to come out of bond, and then the state will fund the other $125 million to do a comprehensive high school of this size to match our other 3 schools. So list of projects, I know that's small for the people in the room, but online, as we talked about the AC units, that's a $4.1 million cost. We have some art room remodeled there. We do have band and cafeteria expansion on there. We do have all of our restroom remodels on there, and we also have some sporting items on this list as well because some of that, like lighting upgrades, where those light poles are starting to fail where we need to replace lights on them. And then LED now and some other forms of sports lighting are way more economical and better for lights for fields. We have the intercom replacement on there again because the state is supposed to cover that, but we have not seen any funds come our way for those. And the fire system at Buckeye as well. Sand volleyball is an AIA sport now, and it's been approved. We have all 3 schools doing it, but they're traveling to parks or some other place off campus to have their AIA events. We have science facility upgrades, the scoreboard replacements. These are original scoreboards in the gyms and other areas of the campus that we can't get controllers for anymore. We've bought a few off of eBay used to get us by, but those systems are starting to fail. Additional security cameras. We have a grant from the federal government that's helping us get about almost $600,000 worth of cameras on campus, but we'd like to look at some key access points, card entries to get away from the keys. And then the turf of the practice field, those of you that have been around Buckeye a long time out here, where we flopped the campus and built the replacement campus, we tried to do that field out there back where the old auto shop and a parking lot was. We've been round and round with agricultural specialists for more than a decade now. We cannot grow grass in that area, and we do not have a safe field there. So we would like to turf that and also be able to invite the community to use that more as they have been using the turf football field. And then the varsity football field returf, we have that on each campus. They have an 8-year warranty, and we're approaching 10 years on those fields now. And since it's a 10-year bond, we wanted to get that money into this bond so that we could replace it when we need it, not necessarily right away, but as it begins to fail, so we make sure everything's safe. Bond project, similar AC units at Estrella Foothills. We have a diagram of it, but the field, the donation of the land south of Estrella Foothills, we have an athletic facility expansion there to make sure we have a second baseball and softball field for our multiple programs. Now that campus has over 1,600 students, and then also a drop-off for both parents and a bus drop-off to get traffic off the parkway, which we'll talk about here in a minute. Fire system again, performing arts center upgrade, sand volleyball, science is the same as the other campus, scoreboard replacement, lighting upgrades, and then the same with the turf replacement here in the next 5 years or so. Do you want to talk about this one?
So I'm just going to take a minute and just talk a little bit about the land expansion at Estrella Foothills, because this is a significant it's a significant opportunity for our district that will make a huge impact. But I think for our Goodyear residents, this is as big a win for the community as it is for the school, because of the increased traffic that is on the school. So if you look at this diagram, you can see at the top up there is the existing entrance to the school. So currently at Estrella Foothills, there's a light there. It's now Wolfpack Way, but there's a light there. That is the only way on and off that campus for every parent, every teacher, every bus, every student, anybody who comes to school. It's one way in and one way out, and that's all we can do because we're landlocked on this. This campus was built on 43 acres. Typically, you wouldn't build a high school campus for the size that we would have in our district on anything less than 55. So I was approached in my first year as superintendent, and they came in and said, the land developers up there said, hey, we have this 22-acre parcel just on the other side of the wash, because there's a wash that runs through there that you can't disturb and you can't touch, you can't build anything in it, but we can put walk bridges over it. They said, we'd like to donate this, but here's the caveat. You as a district have to demonstrate you have enough funding to develop it, or else we can't give it to you because we don't want to give it to you and have it sit as vacant desert for the next 10, 15 years. They're trying to finish out the community. So we started down that road, and we really didn't have a means, and then they changed ownership or within the development. And so there was about a year hiatus, and then they approached me again. And so a year ago, we were out talking to them, and again, it's 22 acres, and I'll show you the diagram in just a minute, but there's a 22 acres. Again, like Jeff said, it would give us a chance to add the additional softball field like our other schools have. It would give us another baseball field like our other schools have. It would give us a practice field that is much needed. At all of our schools, we're looking at adding sand volleyball courts so the kids can play sand volleyball on their own school campus and not have to travel to do that. But it also increased parking. But what they've done now in our talking with them is they have said, not only do we want to give you the 22 acres, but we're going to increase it to 35. And oh, by the way, the road at the south end of this will be paid for by the development. We don't have to pay for it. And so the whole idea behind this is, where I say it's a win for the community. If you're on Estrella Mountain Parkway, right in the half hour before school starts and the half hour after school ends, good luck. You're going to be sitting, I've been there, you're sitting in traffic, it's not moving, and everybody, our Cantamia residents are south of that, they're having to fight traffic. So by giving us the land donation and putting this road in, it allows us to completely have a separate drop-off for all parents and pull parents completely off the parkway. As you can see by the diagram, it'd bring them in off the parkway, take them all the way around the fields, let them drop off their students and go across the walk bridges, and then come back out on the parkway. And right now, if you're on Estrella Mountain Parkway going north, there's a left-hand turn lane that turns into nothing. It's a stackable lane, so right there at the beginning of that road, it was intended to eventually have you turn on that road, and that's why I think why they've extended the land. So it would give a stackable lane for people to get out of the parkway, turn in, and go around. It also allows us, if you look up there, a separate drop-off for our buses. So we could take buses completely out of the mix and have their own place to go in, pick up, drop off. It makes it safer for kids. It makes it safer for the buses. And it will drastically improve the parkway traffic for all people who live in the area. The other thing that we're looking at doing is building some pickleball courts there. Pickleball is a big deal if you don't know that in the Buckeye and Goodyear area. So building some pickleball courts that could be used for students after hours, because I don't think we're more than a year away from the AIA making pickleball an AIA sport. But we could also allow them to be open to the community to use during the school day when we're not using them, because we would use them after school, and for competitions we wouldn't be using them during the school day. So it's just another thing that we can we felt like if the community is going to be generous to us, maybe we could give something back to the community for their generosity. And then the reason I say this is significant, because where that road, you see that road end up there, it will dead end, because eventually Cotton Lane will come from the north all the way down there. But it's estimated by the developers that it's probably 8 years away from reaching the school. And so if we are not successful with this bond, this whole piece of property goes away, and they will build houses right up to the school. And so we won't have any opportunity. To do anything about the one way in and one way out until 8 years from now, when Cotton Lane comes all the way up. So this is really significant for that school and that community. So I just wanted to share a little more detail with this. We do have this diagram on our website. It is posted all over Estrella Foothills at various places for people to see. And we're actually we've already had a Cantamia resident group tour the school yesterday, and we shared some of this with them. We're also, Jeff and I next week are doing a presentation for LD23, so we'll talk a little bit more about this. And so anyway, we wanted to share that with you.
All right, and then the Yonker projects, very similar. The AC units there too, the art room remodel, band room expansion, culinary. That's the only campus that doesn't have a full-blown culinary program like the other two, and it's a hugely popular program with kids. Exterior painting, intercom, performing arts like the other two campuses, restroom remodels, sand volleyball, science facilities, scoreboard replacements. As you'll see, they're very similar. We also have a wrought iron fencing issue there on that campus. Right now it's up, but you can see, especially along Apache, where it's starting to rust, and we want to get that replaced for the safety of the campus. And then the bond projects at our Learning Center. The main one there is the chiller. We have 2 chillers on that campus, but the first one was put in 2011. And we're starting to have issues with that, so we figured in the next 10 years we would need to replace that, so we wanted to add that to the list. We have an intercom system issue there as well, parking lot expansion, restroom remodels, and some security camera and key access points, as those were originally installed and are starting to fail because of age. And then land for school number 4, which you talked about, and the school number 4, $50 million, and to round out the bond. With the laptops would be $26 million for 10 years worth of laptops. We have also some infrastructure in there for switches and servers. Right now, and that's one of the concerns we have, is that our full capital budget as a district without a bond is $3.5 million to purchase freshman laptops right now for one grade, and the kids get them as freshmen and use them for the 4 years. Is about $1.5 million. So that would take more than half of that budget to get that through. And so we want to include that in the bond like we did in 2014. And then we have $10 million in for buses, $2 million a year for white fleet buses to transport for activities, and regular buses for transportation, and some contingency for unforeseen construction costs. So one of the big questions we're getting right now is, why won't the tax rate increase? We're limited the total bond amount to what the tax rate can support. So I can tell you, when we visited with all the campuses and got the list, we went back to the community forum group that we had last year, and they prioritized the projects where we could do something that was tax rate neutral. And so that's the $163 million that's before you. Remember, there's more people and businesses moving into the district boundaries to help pay the tax. And so as they come in, they'll be responsible for it as well. And then we're also staggering the bond sales. We're not selling $163 million right up front. It's broken into 4 sales over the 10-year period to make sure we can maintain the existing tax rate and not have a tax rate increase. So this is very hard for the folks in the room to see, but online you can see basically this is page 5 of the information voter pamphlet that's being mailed out and should be to you soon, showing how we're going to maintain the 85-cent tax rate that we have right now for bond, and then maintain the overall tax rate for the district, which right now sits at $2.93. And you'll see at the top where we spread the sales out over 8 years, doing one in starting in 26 and then going every 2 years after that into 2032, so that we do not impact the tax rate adversely. Here's some information that we have on the website. One of the things that we see a lot on the social media posts is that all the money goes to administration. We're ranked 4th lowest of our 13 similar sized district. That's done by the Auditor General's office, and we're below the state and peer district average. And then also maintaining the tax rate, as we talked about, with new home buyers also paying for the bonds and spreading out the sales over the 10-year period. So some key dates to keep in mind: October 6th is the voter registration deadline. Ballots will be mailed and dropped in boxes beginning October 8th. And the last day to request a replacement ballot is October 24th. And then the last day you can mail the ballots in is October 28th. So we'd be happy to, you can scan here to get some more information on off of our website, and also be happy to answer any questions from the audience. The question for the online viewers was, has the School Facilities Board approved us for a new school at this time? They have tentatively. Right now it was 2028 is when they're opening, fall of 28. So we would start construction soon if that's the case. We just turned in our capital plan, which we have to do for each year, and so they'll assess our enrollment again. And they have a state demographer that works through ASU that looks at that as well, and then they'll come back and say whether we're still 2028. Our feelings are we're probably going to get pushed out a year or so because the enrollment hasn't quite come as fast, but we want to be ready when it gets here. Yeah, they've set aside actually at the $125 million in their budget for 2028. Yes. Yeah, it takes 2 full years to start the architecture and a year and a half to build the school. So we're trying to be ready for when that time comes.
Anybody else in the audience have a question?
The ground itself is the current road is state.
To our knowledge, it's owned by the Estrella Mountain Group.
So much, because I'm sure it is, because we have people know, because if the land donation, like if we don't pass our bond and get this land, the home builders, the home builders are going to build houses right up to the wash, and so we will lose this opportunity to be able to do this. So that's all. I've seen the plan. The plan is to just keep bringing. They're going to bring houses. I think they want us to develop this, and then they're going to bring houses right up to that road and then move to the south. So, yes, that's okay. Mm-hmm. Yes, we do. So that's at Perryville and Dunlap is where we're looking right now. Durango, not Dunlap. Perryville and Durango. Right now it's a county island, but there is City of Goodyear infrastructure that exists, so sewer and water exists right there. We've already been in conversation with the City of Goodyear. We've met with the city manager and their team, and we've been assured that if we purchase this piece of land, then we'll go through the annexation process for Goodyear to annex us into the city. And so we've done that. We were looking at land that was in Buckeye prior to that. The problem we're running into is on the Buckeye side of things, in the area where we need another school, there's no infrastructure. It's farmland, and so sewer and water are miles away, which would cost you a fortune to try to get them there. But one of the reasons we're looking at that, just to give you a little more explanation, in our district, we don't just start drawing boundaries and say if you live in this box, you go to this school. What we do is we look at where our high schools are located, and we look at all of our feeder elementary schools, and by elementary school we identify which high school in our district they will attend. So by building a high school in that location, we've already identified 4 existing elementary schools, plus Liberty is supposed to build a 5th that is just south of the property that we're looking to obtain. And by moving those 5 schools to that high school, we will naturally pull students away from Estrella Foothills, away from Yonker, and away from Buckeye Union to keep the overcrowdedness from happening at our existing schools. So we can very naturally pull kids into a brand new school and keep our other 3 schools from getting larger than we can handle. So, any other questions from anybody in the audience? Unfortunately, we don't have the ability to answer questions online, but if you are online and have questions, you're welcome to email us and we'll be glad to answer them. So, anyone else? Okay. Well, we would like to thank you very much for taking the time to come in person. For those of you who are online, thank you for taking the time to tune in. We'll officially end our presentation now, but Mr. Simmons and I are here. If you're here and you want to talk to us further, we're happy to talk with you. But again, thank you for attending, and thank you for your support of the Buckeye Union High School District. We sincerely appreciate it.